Hey, Shalom family. Welcome to Birthing Titus 2. This is Sister Kana, and I am thinking that I'm going to go ahead and create series for what we're going to be doing here. If I had to name this first series, I think I would call it It Takes a Village, because it does, doesn't it? It takes a village to raise children. It takes a village for us to be able to accomplish things. Not, yeah, raise children. Yes, it takes a village to raise children. It takes a village to be able to accomplish certain things and bring certain things to fruition. Okay. So, with us all knowing that and being able to accept that fact and to embrace that, I think that it's important for us to start acknowledging the village. Okay. Acknowledge the fact that you need people, the fact that you can't do everything by yourself, right? And so, certainly, child rearing is one of those things. The scripture talks so much about us raising our children and our children being raised within the gates of our forefathers, or talks a lot about the history of child rearing. And one thing that we notice is that in the rearing of our forefathers, they were always brought up in the village, right? In the village of their father, their father's father. Some people's case, like Tobit, okay, you've got people who were brought up by their mother and their mother's family, maybe. But either way, you're being brought up in um, within a nourishing environment. One that's kind of missing from today's atmosphere. I'm sure we can all pretty much agree on that, right? So, anyhow, I just wanted to talk about children's conversion. Okay, so everything in life, most things that we learn in life, require a little bit of conversion. And educational conversion is really no different from anything else in life. When we are first born as babies, we're converted, right? We go through a conversion process, the process of being within our mother's womb and being uh, kind of, not kind of, I'm talking about some kind of, us being totally protected and nourished by that environment, right? We're in our mother's womb. There's nothing else you can do except for accept the things that are being given to you, and the things that are being offered by via the umbilical cord. So you're accepting those things. You're also having to accept other things too, right? Some things that may be flowing in from mom's bloodstream, or maybe things that you're hearing because mom's in certain environments. Your babies are totally receptive to what's going on um, outside outside of mom's body. So whether that means like mom is calm and relaxed, mom's listening to music. If you can hear me right now in the background, I kind of got some Motown jazz going tonight. And say that there were a baby, if I were carrying, that child would be receptive to what it is that I'm listening to, my attitude, my mood. Okay. Um, we know that some of those sounds, the vibrations, right, they go in, and baby's able to be soothed by or interrupted by the things that are coming in advertently and inadvertently. Okay. So, anyhow, let's get started. It Takes a Village, Series 1, okay? Episode 1. We're going to be talking about educational conversion. So I have my notes here, and I pray that you won't hold it against me if I refer to them from time to time during this conversation, because I will probably have to do just that. Okay, so take it easy on me here, folks. So a child must be converted. Okay, a child has to be converted into receiving many things, and that includes an education. Primarily, an infant enters into the human life through coming together. Okay, and I'm back. I don't know what happened there. All right. So, anyways, um, a child must be converted, as I was saying. Okay. So a child is has to be converted into many things. That also includes receiving an education. All right, I think I said that already, but I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate it since I was kind of cut off there. Anyhow, um, the child being converted, it begins in the beginning, right? The beginning of life, that child's life. Primarily an infant, he enters into the world through the coming together of his mother and father. Although we don't know what happens before coming to this life, we certainly have a good idea of what takes place after entering the earth, right? So we're all there. We've been babies before, although we don't really remember. However, we've had the privilege of watching other infants and being able to watch and observe and see how do they function when they come into this world. What is it that these children, what do they come into the world with? You know, already kind of exhibiting certain things. And if we really sit down and pay attention, you'll see that children come into this world with quite a bit of foresight and a little bit of ingenuity too. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. Um, let's see, where was I? So, okay, when a baby is turning, is that where I want to start? No, it's not. Give me a second, okay? Okay. So, when a baby is born, when a baby is born, it's when a baby is born, turning its head towards its mother. When a baby is first born, right? The baby is born crying at first, but as he calms down, he starts to search for something. Usually, he's searching for his mother. He's searching for familiarity. He's searching for something that he's heard before, felt before, um, something that he notices, okay? Something that he notices as familiar to him, all right? So as he does that, you'll notice that the baby starts kind of turning its head. Mom's voice, mom may be saying, "Oh my gosh, my baby." She may be kind of talking to baby and everything. And you notice baby is kind of turning its head towards mom. And after a little while, when after baby is turning his head, trying to get adjusted to the world, trying to see, what is that? That sound, it sounds familiar. This feels familiar, okay? Mind you, baby's been through a traumatic experience, right? Coming into the world and being disconnected from mom in the first place. So, especially if you have followed the tradition of some westernized folks and did something like allow the baby's umbilical cord to be cut, Baby is really in, looking for the one who's been carrying him the whole time. So, anyhow, as baby hears mom's voice or smells mom's smell, okay, baby starts to kind of maneuver and make his way to that familiar sight, sounds, and we'll not even, I'm not going to say not sight because these doctors, they tell us that baby can't see. I don't know that that's true. I'm sure that baby's eyesight is kind of developing and coming in. Doesn't mean that baby isn't able to recognize anything, okay? I don't know that. So I'm not going to say that that's true. However, we do know that baby makes his way to sound, to smell, right? So, as baby is looking to be nourished and comforted, that the job that once belonged to his umbilical cord, he may now look for it. And he's now not may, he's going to look for it, right? In another place. He's looking for that comfort that he once had. So, with that being said, he starts to search out mother's breast, right? He's searching out mother, he's searching out mother's breast, he's searching out this thing that has been instinctively put into his mind to do. And here comes the ingenuity part, right? Because baby's never had milk before. He's never he's never suckled breast. He's up until this point, outside of maybe he's sucking his thumb, okay, when he's in mommy. Other than that, he is completely reliant on mom's umbilical cord and the sensations that he's receiving from mom. So this time, he's got to search that out. And so it's a little different than it was when everything came so easy to him, at one point in time, which was, not long ago when we're talking about an infant who's just entered into the world. So in this instance, baby is proving to us that he can accept conversion. Okay? He's accepting conversion, the conversion of him no longer receiving nourishment from mother's umbilical cord to now he's looking to be nourished and fulfilled elsewhere. Okay? Even though that nourishment still lies in mom, he's still looking for his new way to get to it. Really, the only way for him to begin that journey is to first accept the fact that the old way is no longer going to work. Okay? So once he realizes, I don't get anything that way anymore, and he begins to search out a new way, right? As baby is searching out his new way to be nourished and to survive, he's still looking for that familiar source. So the first thing that he does is instinctive. He tries to communicate. He tries to communicate with the source, with mom. Okay? So what does that brand of communication look like, moms? Wah, wah, wah. Here he goes. He's up here, he's crying. So he's gonna he's going to cry, he's going to maneuver, he's going to, if you leave baby is going to inch his way, he's going to even kind of squirm his way up towards mom's breast because the next instinct that's kicking in, right, is his smell, his the instinct of smell, and he's smelling milk. He's smelling milk. He's smelling something that he somehow understands is going to satisfy and soothe him. Somehow he understands that. It's natural, we know. It's instinctive, as we've said, right? So, as the baby starts to grasp on to this new concept, this new idea, he hasn't really proven that it works yet, right? He doesn't know. He doesn't know for sure that when he gets to mom, he's going to receive this, the same amount of comfort or nourishment that he once did, but he has to try. He has to try. Everything in him is telling him to try. So he does. Makes his way to mom. He has to learn how to maneuver his mouth now. He didn't know how to do that before. He's got to learn how to maneuver his mouth in order to get what it is that he wants. Okay? So, any mom, breastfeeding mothers, you understand the process of baby learning to suck and learning to draw milk for the first time. It's a process. It's a process that baby, he understands at first. He might, maybe he's okay for the first feeding. Maybe come second feeding, baby's acting like he never done it before. And he has to refigure these things out again, right? So as that's happening, as that process is taking place, baby is learning to accept this new way of being. Baby is learning to accept that it's time for me to learn to do things a different way. I have to do things differently if I want to receive what it is that I need. As he is, excuse me, as he is learning to accept this new way, and he's coming into coming to his into his own at this point, he baby has to strategize kind of. Okay, yeah, he's got, so first he got some milk out of mom, right? And everything worked fine. What happens when he comes back again? Mom's milk is kind of changing a little over the next couple of days, right? We go from colostrum to milk. And if anybody who knows about babies, you know that colostrum is like that first hearty, uh, calorie calorie overload that baby needs to get through the conversion of coming from birth to getting all his nourishment and everything from you. Now he's coming into the world and he's making this brand new transition. So, making that transition, baby's burning a lot of calories, right? Far more calories than he probably ever burnt before while he was in the womb. So, that colostrum comes and it gives baby that oomph he needs, right? So, after a little while, though, the good stuff kind of tapers off a little, right? That super creamy, super yummy stuff kind of tapers off, and now there's milk. Mom's milk is coming in. Mom's milk is a little different than the colostrum was. It's not as thick. So see, first baby could take that thick colostrum and just kind of work it around, and it goes down and kind of digest, and it's, kind of gives baby this little barrier still in kind of his training wheels, still while he's getting used to even taking mom's milk. So then after those couple days go by, the milk gets thinner and thinner, and now baby has to maneuver swallowing more effectively. And so a ton of transition is happening during this time, right? During the time of first coming out and getting colostrum to milk to now, as baby gets bigger and bigger and older, baby is now needing more and more nutrient from mom. He's needing more. So as he's needing more, he's also having to learn how to get more. How do I get this? Now, mom can try to express her milk, try to make it easier for baby to receive milk from her by kind of working it down, by massaging the breast a little to get it to come out. But guess what? No one is better at getting that milk out than baby is. But baby has to learn how to go about getting what he wants. So, does that mean, so sometimes that may mean that baby's letting out a different cry? He may let out one cry when he's a little hungry, but when he gets to be a certain amount of hungry or a certain amount of frustrated, a different cry comes out. And moms, you may notice that when that different cry comes out, it's like you feel the tingle, right? And you're feeling that tingle, and you're feeling the milk start to, um, come, and the milk as it starts to come. Now, what is happening here? I didn't kill the battery on my laptop. That's all right though. I was using it to listen to my music, but it's kind of on a hiatus. So, where were we? Oh, okay. So I was talking about mom and mom's milk. So anyhow, milk comes, baby's getting what it is that he needs or she needs. And as they're learning all these new techniques, how to get that milk from mom, how to get it when I want it. And so how do they figure that out, mom? Cry, 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 right? They cry, they grab, they pull, they may, of course, we know they do the bobblehead thing, right? When they're looking for what it is that they want, as soon as they get to anybody, until they figure out who's got the good stuff and who doesn't. They try it out on everybody. Anyhow, the evidence that baby is being converted is baby learning different cries, baby learning to give cues like the bobblehead thing, baby, the tugging, the pulling, baby inching close to mom, even baby turning his head when mom is coming into the room is showing you that baby is now being converted into a new way of life. And so let's not, dads, don't want to leave you guys out, okay? Not leaving out dads, all right? Babies are also receptive to hearing their fathers. Many, many babies have been comforted by the sound of dad getting home while he's still in mom's womb. The sound of dad when he enters the room, right? That bass, hear that bass in the voice. Baby might calm down because mom probably calmed down 9 times out of 10. When dad finally gets home, mom is like, baby feels that. So let me move on because this series, I'm not, or at least today, this episode is not about babies at all. We're talking about educational conversion. So let's move on. Because as this infant continues to grow, he begins to realize more things, right? He begins to realize that he's going to have to figure out his legs if he wants to move around like everybody else. He's going to have to figure out how to use his arms if he wants to be able to hold things in place. Okay? He's going to have to be able to figure out his fingers and his hands if he wants to manage grabbing something that's just out of his reach. He's going to have to learn how to do all these things. He has to. So, just as a baby is able to accept that, we have to get our children to learn how to accept receiving an education too, how to get to their next step, okay? And so this next step is, yes, it's being still delivered by mom and dad and received by child, but Child can only receive what mom and dad are willing to give, right? In this new situation. I mean, in any situation, but especially in the new situation, because before baby was getting milk, baby learned how to palm mom. He learned how to get to what it is that he needed. And as long as mom was there and willing to give it, baby could just take. So now there's a new a new aspect that's come along, a new give and take that is being introduced into baby's life. And just like baby learned how to crawl, how to walk, how to run, how to skip and jump, right? Baby is also learning how to receive new information, how to receive new information. And the way that they do that is by being very observant. They have to sit and observe in order to learn how to do these things. Some babies, depending on who's in the child's life, they may skip certain steps, right? So I have, okay, so one of my children, she's going to be 25 this year. She never even crawled. She never crawled. But she didn't have, she had siblings that were older that I'm sure in her mind she wanted to learn how to keep up with. This child, let me tell you another thing about this child. This child learned how to walk and use the potty in the same week when she was 9 months old. Same week. She learned to walk. She used that potty. Not because anyone, I wasn't forcing her, I wasn't potty training her at that point or anything like that. She waddled into the bathroom one day while I was using it. And sorry for the TMI, but that's what happened. So she gets in there while I'm using the bathroom. So I asked her, because she just stood in the look that she had on her face. I said, "Do you want to use the potty?" And she just looked at me. I finished up and I picked her up and I decided to just pull her diaper down and set her on it. So I set her on the potty, and I'm telling you, it wasn't even, not even 5 seconds went by. That girl peed. She had the nerve to sit there and pee in that toilet. So after that, guess what? Oh, now it's time for mom to start introducing her to more all things potty, right? I'm introducing her to all things potty after that. She's learning how to get up onto the potty. She's learning how to sit. She's learning, when when it is that she has to go to the potty. Learning how to home in on that and how to perfect her new craft. And she did, of course, as she did walking, running, skipping, and jumping, she did. Learn, oh, okay, when we're done, you gotta push this button, flush this thing, makes it go away. Now we gotta wash our hands. Maybe she didn't know why that is, but she just knows that it's a part of it. Okay, so she goes along with what it is she's being, that what it is that is being offered to her as a new concept. She's accepting that, and that's pretty much the same thing we have to do when it comes to our children and getting them to accept educational concepts. Mm. Got my music back on. Got my music back on. Let me take a little sip of the get up and go go, and we're going to keep on going, all right? Coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I'm a proud coffee drinker. I know everyone is drinking mushrooms these days, and there's nothing, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that. I think that there's a big, huge benefit to it, as a matter of fact. I'm going to get in line with it. I'm going to go ahead and drink me some mushrooms too, but I'm not going to call it coffee because it's not coffee. Could never be. Not for me. Anyway, I'll accept it as what it is, okay? That's my new conversion. So, in moving on, I want to tell you about my other child. So, I had 8 children altogether, okay? So, one of my children, he's older than the daughter I mentioned a moment ago. But this child, he never it took him a long time. Let me just say that. It took him a while before he started walking and talking. I was really worried about him. I didn't know what to think. He was about 2 years old before he actually started to talk, you know? Before that, he may say one thing, you know, one word, 2 words. I was so concerned. And finally, he just starts talking one day. And it was to all of our surprise, he had the nerve to have a deep voice too. So he's talking, you know, everybody's like noticing the bass he's got in his voice. He never slowed down after that, though. The child was a genius, okay? He just, every little thing that he did, it seemed like he did it with so much thought and intent, you know? But I digress. I use both of those examples. My daughter starting to be converted to walking and using the potty when she was so young, versus my son who didn't, you know, didn't accept those things until he was a little bit later in you know his beginning years. Well, both of those examples can be seen in our children's academic behavior, how they their profiles are very different. The thing that they have in common, though, is that just as they had to both be converted, whether it be sooner or later, they just as they both had to be converted into accepting the you know the new task of walking and you know going to the bathroom, and they had to accept those things through the leadership and the you know and the advisement of their parent. It's the pretty much the same way they have to go through accepting academic leadership. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about. It's important that we pay attention to this because it directly affects our children's achievements, right? And um, how they go about setting goals and going after, you know, certain goals. I'm sure that a lot of people would agree with me that the more effective we are at being leaders at home, it our children are um, directly affected by that, and it goes to it's so important for your child to be willing to accept academic leadership, okay? Because when you get ready to put your child in school, right, that sort of thing can directly affect your child's achievements in school, okay? And because it affects their willingness to receive instruction from certain places, okay? So if your child is used to receiving um, your leadership at home, I'm sure one thing that they're taught is that they are to listen to and be obedient to other adults, not just you. Okay, I'm sure that you don't let them snatch away from grandma or give auntie such and such dirty looks, right? If you catch that sort of thing, I'm sure you are sure to correct that behavior, right? And that behavior is 9 times out of 10 going to be handled right then and there, in the presence of that adult so that that child can now accept the fact that, oh, this person deserves my respect. This person deserves um, the same amount of respect that I give to mom or I give to dad. I give the same care and the same consideration to this adult. Okay? So if you understand me and you're with me so far, then you also understand why it's so important to make your teacher a part of your active village. Your children's teachers should be a part of your active village if they can, if they possibly can. And the reason is because when you add that teacher, okay, into the village, the child can also see that this teacher is someone who deserves my ear. This teacher is someone who I need to pay attention to, okay? They can accept that this teacher is someone who can help them to convert even further. Now, mind you, remember how we talked about babies from mommy's womb all the way out, right? Children, we are made to accept conversion. We're created that way. Ever since the baby first started developing, he's been converting and converting and converting. Okay? So now that they go into a new aspect of life, into the educational aspect of their life, okay? They are moving into that new realm, and they need the backing of mom and dad, right? They need the backing of their foundation to show them that it is okay. It's okay to accept this conversion. It is expected of you. It is something that you need, okay? Just like they saw mom and dad walking around and going to the potty, and they knew that they needed to learn to do that. Mom and dad was able to usher that in for them. You also have to be willing to usher that into your child's educational setting, okay? So if you're one of those parents who have the kind of attitude that um, I don't want anybody correcting my child, then you may want to educate your own child. Because if you don't, you are giving them a foundation, right? That tells them that they don't have to respect the art of conversion, the same art that they've been learning from you all along. You're now telling them that they do not have to they don't have to fully respect that process or those who help them, who are helping them to realize that process. Ultimately, mom and dad, that circles back around to you. And guess what? That child is going to start to disrespect you. So we have to be very careful when it comes to teaching our children um, who to respect and who not to respect. We put stipulations on how much respect they should give to another adult. Okay. Personally, I've always taught my children that they need to give other adults all their respect. Okay. All of their respect with caution. Okay. With caution. You can respect an adult, okay, and not necessarily agree with them. You can respect an adult and feel like something that they are doing is not right. And although you may respect an adult, if they are to do something that does not feel right, you also hold the right to communicate that to your parents. Okay? So we know communication is key in all of these things. Our children have to feel comfortable. They have to feel comfortable enough to be able to accept conversion, the education from their new source, from their teacher, right? They also the way that they are able to achieve that level of respect or of acceptance is by teacher making the child to know that they are in a safe place, just as mom had to do. Mom's womb created a safe place for baby, so that baby could then accept what it is that mom had to provide him with. Okay, and the more safe that womb was, the more nourished baby was. Okay, I'm not just talking about baby's body buildup. I'm talking about baby's mental. I'm talking about baby's spirit. I'm talking about the whole 9 yards. Okay, that job was not just for mom, but also dad had his part to play in it too, right? So, anyhow, with that being said, the same atmosphere has to be created for student and teacher. All right.